Hi, welcome everyone. Let loose the dolphins of war. I'm here with author Raymond Feliciano. We met conference time, Saturday Night Star Trek, and it's been great to talk with him and be part of the Global Geek Gang with him and hang out on Saturday night with Star Trek and also with his wife Sandra. So we've never met personally, just over the interwebs, but it's been great to meet Raymond, and we're going to talk about his book a little bit today, and hopefully get everyone who hasn't bought one copy already to to buy one, or actually get an autographed copy. So welcome, Raymond.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Great to have you. Great to have you. Thanks. Yep. So I see we've got some of the usual gang in the chat, which is great. So it looks like
Oh,
we've
yeah.
got Raquel is here in the chat, which is great, and
Hi,
we've
Raquel.
got. And I can't do the names like she does the names, but with her great voice, as she says, "Wee." I'll try. My
We.
voice is kind of my voice is kind of crackly. I had a sore throat. I did take a couple of vid tests, so I'm all clear. Knock on wood, but I
Oh,
wasn't
that's good.
feeling 100%, but I'm feeling, getting through the day. And I was involved in a local political election last night, so I was up late and in a room of crowded and loud people, all good, but you talk louder, so my voice kind of kind of was going, but doing great, and glad to have you on the show, and we can talk about your book.
I'm looking forward to it. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. I love what you do.
Thank you. Yep. And we've got Snortopupus Cuber. So I'm not even gonna. Should I attempt a
Let me give it a try.
Raquel? Raymond, you'd go for it.
Snort poopas! Cuber.
Okay. That was pretty good. Pretty good. Raquel does it better. We're not gonna. But that was good. Yep. And
I'll
we've got.
have to see how I do on the Raquel scale.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't want to. Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10 for Raquel Snortopupus Cuber. Yep. And hopefully I don't miss anyone. We've got our buddy Pat S is in the crowd, and of course your lovely wife Sandra is here.
Yep.
So we've got a great gang to hang out. And I'm always, when Pat S is saying author, I'm always impressed when I meet someone or talk to someone who's actually written a book. And actually, put thought to paper and been able to actually, write a whole book. So maybe tell us what was the idea for the book, and how that actually came into being.
Certainly. This actually started. Oh, hello, Dad Man Walking. We missed you. Welcome aboard. We This book is actually the character, main character in the series has been around since when I was in high school, but I didn't start writing it until I got out of high school when I went to the Air Force and needed something to do on those long midnight shifts. So I started writing something out using an old typewriter. Yes, that's dating.
A typewriter. Can you explain to our younger crowd what a typewriter is?
Yeah, yes. It has a ribbon, a black ribbon. It's got hard to press keyboard keys, and you hear a lot of clack, clack, clack. I didn't even have an electric one.
Oh, the
It was
old
definitely
mechanical.
it was the mechanical, which was fine because my job I did the old teletype, which isn't much better than than a typewriter.
Yep.
So so that was the first starting of the of the writing process, all those many years ago, and on and off, I started um, doing doing various iterations. I got back into it around 2001. Started another iteration, still keeping the same characters, but just changing the plot a little bit. And then toward I'd say 2009, I finally got the hook that I needed to put the whole book together.
Okay.
And that's what All's Fair was born. And then can you hear me better now, Pat Smith or Pat S?
Pat S. Yep. There, a little bit louder. Yeah, that's good. Yep, that's good there. Yep.
Okay. So that one, about that time, I finished All's Fair. The hardest thing was trying to find somebody to publish it without breaking the bank, and I did the agent thing.
Yep.
And nothing was happening. And in the meantime, I had a perfect fit for number 2 for Peacemaker.
The sequel, yeah.
For the sequel, yes. And Peacemaker pretty much wrote itself after I did the original one and was still trying to get it out. So I actually had 2 books in the bank ready to go. All I needed was a way to get it published. And fortunately, I started getting on YouTube and became listening to Doomcock and Bill Doomcock, and started listening to him, became a wrench, and I asked him for advice, and he pointed me to Kindle.
Great.
Once I got Kindle, and I was very skeptical about Kindle because I actually thought about doing one of these publish on demands. And
is that explain to people what that is? Is that basically if someone wants your book, they order it and then it gets sent to them, or how does that work? Publish on demand.
You can do it one or two ways. You can either have a stack of books that you're ready to push out the door, but you still got to pay for it, or like going through Kindle, you can either have it put on Kindle and get author's copies. So
yeah, but when you say publish it, I mean, like they would actually send you the books. Like say you wanted 100 copies.
Yeah, they would send me the books. I'd shell out the money. They'd send me the books, and then it's up to me to really.
And then you'd have to sell it, distribute it, and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So which is fine, but the costs that they were giving me was really not what I wanted to do. I mean, I want to get my books out there. I don't want to break the bank and go in the poorhouse.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know how many copies you're going to sell and things like that too. So like, well, just to compare like our business, my day job, not my fun podcasting stuff. My dad invented a tool. I think I told you about that for electricians. And back in the day, he put an ad in the New York Times to sell them for $9.95, and he had no idea. And he made 100, because like you said, you can't break the bank, and even back then it was very expensive for him to make 100. So, but then he got an order for 200 or 300. But the problem is, something like that. Say you wanted to, and you hope you're going to sell tons of books, but say you ordered, 1,000 books, and then God forbid they don't sell, then you've got 1,000 books that you're sitting on. So the advantage to Kindle, I'm guessing, then is it's all electronic, and then people just order it, and there's not as much risk for you. Am I saying it correctly, or? Exactly.
The risk isn't for the online Kindle stuff. The risk is minimal, and I get it. Get royalties for that. If you want to get hard copies, like for a signing event or something like that, you still got to pay, but it's not as much as, it's like about half of the cost of it.
Okay.
So it's not as cost prohibitive.
Yeah, so that's a great way for independent authors or someone who doesn't have a big publishing house behind them
Mhm,
to get published. So that's fantastic. And of course, we've got Raquel in the audience, who's another author, and you can also
mhm.
her links in my notes below. You can also buy her short stories on Amazon too, as well, which I've done. So yeah, it's a great way to reach people.
Mhm.
With your work, and you as an author, I'm sure God, you want people to know about what you've done and be able to read it, and this way is
Exactly.
a great way. Yep.
Hmm. And you don't have to worry about all the Indiegogo rigmarole that you.
Yep. Yep.
I'm
Well,
serious.
we have a fun comment here that we need a best of Raquel soundboard with all her hits. The Steven song, the shout outs, and the Janet from Another Planet song. Yeah,
I
so
agree
that
100%.
so we could
Oh,
have one of
I
those
could,
fancy what do you call roadcaster, or you push the button and the snort of poopas cuber comes out. Yeah. Which is great. Yeah, we have a lot of fun
yeah,
on YouTube here. It's been a great time. Yep.
yeah, yeah. I'll play the drum accompanist. The
Oh, that's
drum.
right. Yeah, and Raymond, yeah, is a drummer, which is awesome. So
Yeah,
yeah, great instrument. Yep. So are you a Rush fan, or jazz or rock, or what's your?
I am
Not to
actually
get
more
this.
into the classic rock, slow beats.
Okay. So who's kind of your favorite? If you had to pick one or two bands, who do you like to? If you just want to relax and jam out playing the drums, who would
Emerson,
you?
Lake and Palmer. I wish I could do Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but
Yep.
he's my favorite. He's my favorite drummer, bar none. I
Okay.
wish I could play as good as him.
You try. Yep.
Yeah, I'm actually more like into the obscure groups. There's this group called Dixie Witch that has a great instrumental song that trying to learn to play. Another band that I'm looking into trying to play their songs is called Blues Pills. They're a Swedish group.
Yep. I haven't heard of them, but I'm trusting you. You know your stuff. Yep. As a
Yeah,
musician. Yep. I'm a huge Jethro Tull fan. That's probably my
oh
most.
God,
I love Jethro Tull. So if you like ELP or Emerson, Lake and Palmer, I'm assuming
oh
you'd like.
I love Jethro Tull. In fact, I lived in Cleveland, and I've gone to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame maybe one, two, three times.
Okay.
And when I saw who they were putting in there, rappers, rhythm and blues,
Yep.
everybody but real rockers, I said,
Kanye
I am not
West.
Kanye West, anybody, I'm not going to the Hall of Fame until they put in Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Jethro Tull, ELO,
Yep.
those people, the progressive rock people from the 70s. I That
That's a
is a group
travesty.
that's,
Yep.
yes, it
Well,
is.
Well, we should do it. We'll do another show on prog rock
Oh
someday when I
yeah,
get too sidetracked. But I love talking about it. I love, I've been to tons of Tull concerts, and I love all those
yeah.
groups. And I love a lot of different kinds of music too. But yeah, Jethro Tull is uh, one of my favorites, and the flute,
I've
and
only,
obviously.
yeah, I've only gone to two rock concerts in my life. Um, one was Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and the other one was Isla Guthrie.
Wow. Yep.
Two
So
different
great.
extremes, but
So, yeah, I would say so. Yep. But
yeah,
both classics. Yep. So
yes,
you said
definitely.
to get back to the book, because I know then we'll get
Sure.
good. It's fun to get talk about that stuff, but then we'll
Oh,
talk
that
about Jethro Tull and ELP for an hour.
another
But
time. Yeah.
another time, yeah. So you said you work in the Air Force late night shift. So like were you like a radar operator, or what were you on watch, or
Uh,
what can you tell
I
us what you're doing? I don't get in trouble, but
I can tell you that I my first job was in telecommunications, te- mainly
okay,
teletype stuff.
yeah,
The second job I really can't talk about,
you'd have to kill
and
me. Yeah, okay,
I'd have to kill you. And then the third one, I can say there that involved a lot of working with fighter pilots. So that's where I got a lot of my knowledge, is working
Okay.
with the aviators and
Okay.
seeing what they do. And that's where I've been able to get a lot of my inspiration.
Great.
And
Great.
then finally, I worked in maintenance training before I got out.
Okay. And then, so like sometimes you'd be like have a late night shift where you said you had some like free time. You're kind of just sitting there and you're on call. Is it like you're on call, kind of like a fireman, and then you have time where you can do stuff that you have, like write a novel or is that am I describing it correctly or?
Oh, it was actually waiting for message traffic to come in. I would usually, my shifts, the messages for the day have already gone out by the earlier shifts. So it was pretty much waiting for message traffic to come in and processing. So yeah, it was a lot of dead time.
Yeah, so I don't want to make it sound like you weren't not doing your job. You were just in between what you had to do, and if something popped in, then boom, then you're ready to do it. Yep.
Yep. Had to exercise the mind somehow.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't want to make it seem like, oh, Raymond was in the Air Force and he wrote a book and and didn't do his job. Yep. So now are you actually a pilot yourself or?
Yeah, I'm a private. I'm a commercial pilot, single engine, which I could fly single engine planes. Never got my multi engine. Sandra's done all that.
Sandra has so she's a better pilot than you, I can say.
No, she's just she is a better pilot than I am. She's a flight instructor.
So for those in the audience who don't know, single engine certification would mean like if everyone's seen the Cessna, so it's a plane that has one engine, and when you move up to two engines, you actually have to be certified to fly a plane with two engines. It's a lot more complicated, and it's not as simple as flight simulator if you play it on the computer makes it sound. There's a lot more to it when you have two engines. So not taking away from your single engine, but just so people know what that means.
It's very challenging. And again, Sandra's got the flight instructor certification, so she could teach up to multi-engine aircraft.
And that includes jet aircraft too, or
no.
Okay, just propeller prop.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
Just prop. That's a completely different animal.
I just want to thank Raquel. She's the professional out there, so she's saying I'm doing a good job with this interview. So I appreciate thank you very much for saying that. So I'm and Raymond and I have a bunch of things in common. So it's always fun to talk to someone about something you're interested in, and so I hope I'm doing a good job. But thank you for those nice comments. It's very heartfelt, and I appreciate Raymond being here to be interviewed. So it's a good time to hang out. So you became a pilot through the Air Force then, or that's just through just loving. Okay, yep. So you took training in the Air Force.
Yeah. No, I didn't take training in the Air Force. It was pretty much all my stuff was afterwards.
Afterwards, okay, gotcha. Yeah. Well, I do have a friend right now, a good friend, whose daughter is actually in the Air Force Academy. She got in last year, so we'll see what route that takes her. But she's on her second year, and with the vid, it was a really tough first year for everyone. But she's doing really well out there in Colorado, and we're all in our town. We're all proud of her, and then she's actually her brother is in the Naval Academy. So one of his the youngest brother. So we've got the Air Force Naval Academy. So the youngest brother, Jack, who's actually one of my scouts. I said, "Well, Jack, you've really got to go. You've got no choice, but you've got to go to West Point. You got to round out the family."
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so we're all very proud of him in
Yeah.
town. Oh, we've got JT Kirk
Hey, JT.
just popped in. So hail JT Kirk, another great buddy from Saturday Night Star Trek and Cloudbrain Times and all the circles that we frequent on YouTube. So welcome, and he says he's mowing the lawn and will be lurking. So I guess he's got his he must have his headphones in and and listening. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it's going to be a while before I mow my lawn. I'd be real.
Yeah. You finally got some rain, you said, right? Yep.
Yeah, we just got some rain today, and it's been relatively steady.
Yep. Well, that's good. That's good. Yep. So let's. So okay. So you've got the knowledge and stuff from actually being in the Air Forces is great to have that firsthand knowledge and the base. I'm sure characters aren't exactly, but you kind of take traits and things you hear and how the characters act and kind of put that into the book. Did any of your Air Force buddies know about the book or have read the book or?
Not really. I lost touch with. I've lost touch with a lot of my Air Force friends. I think the most I did was a reunion of my fighter squadron in Vegas about 5 years ago. I was going to go last year, but then what happened.
Well, yeah, everything is unfortunately been really messed up the last year plus. So. But I was just wondering, if one of your buddies had read the book and say, "Hey, that's me," or something like that, or no. Okay.
I did base the unit that my lead character flies in on them, but then changed it a bit, so it's got more of a naval aviation feel.
Okay. Were you stationed in Germany for part of your service, or you said it was dedicated? The book was dedicated to your fighter wing. Is that?
Yeah. I was in Germany for 4 years.
4 years. Yep. So it was dedicated to the. What was the number of your fighter wing and the name again? It was the
480th 480th Tactical Fighter Squadron, or known as the Warhawks.
The Warhawks, correct. Yep. And what kind of planes did they fly?
They started out they were F4 Wild Weasel, which is the defense suppression. So they go out and kill sand.
Yeah, the F4 was a Vietnam era plane, if I'm correct, a jet. And that was a pretty big plane. Was that considered a fighter? The F4.
Yeah, it was a fighter, but it was more it was a fighter, more all-purpose. The Navy started with it, and then the Air Force had its own version.
It was the F4 Phantom, correct? I think, right? Wasn't it F4 Phantom?
Yes, F4 Phantom.
And it had the tail was kind of like a triangular tail, a weird kind of how would you describe it? The ailerons were kind of downward swept, or I was gonna say I love building models, and with net space and planes, and all these books, and so it's a fun thing.
The F4's unofficial nickname was the Rhino, and it does look like a rhino if you really look at it with some imagination. And it is proof that you could put 2 jet engines on a brick and it will fly.
So I guess it flew for a long time. I'm looking at it now. Started flying in 1961, and Japan retired it in 2021. It looks like there must have been a few flying in 2021. Wow. And the Wild Weasel. Yep. And it was in the Gulf War. Yeah.
Yep, they were in the Gulf War. And so when I got there, they had the Wild Weasel jet, and then a regular F4E, which just dropped bombs. They had them together, and then they phased out the E's and brought in F-16s. So it was a combined. So my squadron was a combined F4 and F-16 squad doing the
Yep.
same
Oh,
thing.
just Dadman's saying he's got to leave, so he's going to see Grandma Dadman walking for the first time in a while, which is great to hear.
Well,
Have a
good to
great
hear.
rest of the interview. So thank you, Dadman. Have a great time,
Thank
and
God.
have a great time with Grandma. And I hope she feeds you way too much, like like my grandparents would. Yep. But yeah, it's great to be able
Yep.
to see people. Yep. See people again. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the F-16 is the Eagle, right? F-16 or no,
Well,
Fighting Falcon.
what's the fighting
Fighting
Falcon?
Falcon. Yep, Fighting Falcon. Yep. So that's much more advanced, fighter aircraft. I'm assuming. Yep. Or they both had different roles, I guess, by then. But you're basically dealing with But I was gonna say you're dealing with high end, very extremely well trained pilots at the
Mhm.
top notch people that you're dealing with. So.
Exactly. So, and then I ended up in Arkansas with B-52s before I left active duty into the National Guard.
Okay.
So, um,
And the B-52 is not named after the song. It's the B-52. It's a massive. Well, you say it, Raymond. Yep.
It is a big bomber, nicknamed the Big Ugly Fat, or Buff.
Right.
Buff or Big Ugly Fat. So,
it's a massive plane.
Yeah, it is. That is beautiful plane. Yeah. Beautiful.
And they keep refurbishing it too, so they keep saying they're going to retire it. I guess when did the B-52 start flying? That must have been in 1960. Wow. So I was born in.
Actually, the first designs were coming out at the end of the war. The first model was in the late 50s. The models that are going now were built in the 60s. And I saw a fantastic meme where it's got the Enterprise and another Constitution ship saying, when are they ever going to retire these things? And it's got a B-52 with next gen nacelles.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, so they said that they started. You're of course 100% correct. Yeah, started just after the war when they started with propeller designs first, and then with the jet engines, and they're saying that they were refurbished. Some models were refurbished between 2013 and 2015. The last airplanes are expected to serve into the 2050s. So it's an incredible design. I guess what they do, they refurbish aircraft, and they're not, they can't remake these, I guess, right? I mean, there's no, you said the 60s were the last time, or they'd have to design it from, build it from scratch, I guess. You'd have to make a whole new, you can't just go, hey, you can't just say, hey, let's build some, right? I mean, not so easy.
Well, they still have a bunch in Tucson in the boneyard. In fact, they've taken a couple of those and brought those back into service.
Yeah.
They're talking about putting new engines in it to make it more cost and fuel effective.
Yeah.
So
that's incredible.
I could see these going into 2060 or later.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the lettering. You know how we joke about the Enterprise, and it's and Scotty's got the line, "No bloody A, B, C, or D." It's just and so the B-52 is, I guess, up to the letter H right now.
Yeah, it's
in terms of models, it's the last model. So, how much in your book? How much? I was gonna say in your book, how much does tech, and the ships, and you're talking about a futuristic, space war. How much did your Air Force and fighter pilot? How much did that go into like the physical design? And I shouldn't say design, but the how the ships and the technology worked in your universe. How did you approach that?
Well, I wanted to go with you got to have fleets. So I did take my heavy ships. are pretty much, naval based. I I never really went into designing. I wanted my words to really convey the feeling of what they were. So for the big heavy ships, the closest would be any U.S. Navy ship up to
Okay.
including an aircraft carrier. My fighters, pretty much, I carried the fighters that I've been familiar with. The one that I really did a lot of thought into is the Devil Ray.
Okay.
I
And could
took.
you?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, could you describe it to us, or some of the, how would you, some you got to imagine in your mind, like how would you convey what that ship is like to, someone listening or
Sure.
reading the book? Yep.
Think of a big ass manta ray.
Okay.
If you look on the website, the Fed for Hire is absolutely amazing. Actually, took what I thought after the books were done and made probably the closest version of the Devil Ray, the perfect Devil Ray. But think of a big manta, with the way the manta's shaped, with the two things on either side of his head, and pretty much that design. And I'm
So you've
not
got
a physics.
I'm showing your website. So you've got a picture. You said, if I say click. Well, first of all,
Yeah.
for people that are listening, you can go to the dolphinwars.com, and Raymond's actually selling autographed copies of his books, which is great. And so I guess if I enter the Enclave here, the Dolphin
Yeah, go to the
Enclave.
Enclave. Yeah, go to the Enclave. Just click on the box that says "Go to the Enclave."
Yep. So now here we should be seeing it now and stream. And you should be. Sometimes there's a delay with YouTube, but you should be seeing it now. So I'm looking. If I
There it
scroll
is.
down, or if I go to the right here, we'll see.
Yeah, it's on the banner.
It's on the banner. Yep. So that's your rendering of the main ship in your story. I would say, or how would you
Yep.
describe it?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the fighter. It'd be like the fighter. Like the Cylons. It would be like the if I'm comparing it to Battlestar Galactica, that would be Starbucks fighter, for lack of better words. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I am not a physics major, so I didn't want to go into hyperspace. The closest I came up to, because I wanted to keep everything within the scope of the solar system, because after all, the first book is a book on Earth and Mars going into war with each other. So
Yeah.
I wanted to keep it there. But of course, we know if at normal speeds, it's going to take forever. So I did invent something called push drive, but it's not a true hyperdrive. It does shorten things up a bit. Otherwise, we'd be talking about some long distances between Earth and Mars.
So you've got kind of like it's not light speed. It's not warp drive, but it's similar maybe to it's kind of like a turbo boost, I guess you'd say, or
I would say so.
Something like that. Because as an author too, you've got to have something that people, you can't have the story's got to move too. So you can't say people wanted to suspended animation for 20 weeks, and then and now
exactly.
half a year later.
Yeah. Hail Renier.
Hail Rennie. Thank you for listening, and
thanks for coming.
Hopefully, you guys are finding this interesting. I am. So, encourage everyone to support one of our crew, one of our gang, which is great to see that Raymond's got these books available for purchase, and just had the latest book has just been released. You're doing book signings, it looks like. So August 21st. You're gonna have a book set,
Yep.
and I think, is that correct? That's also your wedding anniversary.
That's our wedding anniversary.
So how did you rig that one? Oh, wow. Sandra must really like you.
She does.
What are we doing for dinner? We're signing books. Yep.
No, I've got a big dinner. I've got big dinner plans. We're doing German.
Oh, great.
So we're doing German. So I think I've made myself up.
Yep, you'll make up for it. Yep. So you'll be on Saturday, August 21st. You'll be at your hobby place. So that's in St. Martinsburg, West Virginia.
Yep.
Great. And so is that like just what's your hobby place? Is that a bookstore, or it's got models too, or?
It's got model. It's a gamer's place. It's not a.
Oh, so I'd really like it. Oh, I would love that too.
Yeah. D&D, Warcraft, D&D, Warcraft, all sorts of things in there.
Very nice, and books too, which I love books obviously too. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So
they have comic books. Not a big stock of comic books, but
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
No, great. Yeah. As a kid, I grew up, loving to read. So I read, I think like 2 or 3 books a week, which was insane. And in the library, I love science fiction. So we had a small little library in our part of town, which is great. Maybe 3 or 4 or 5 shelves of science fiction books. I think at one point I read, every science fiction book that the library had. So I was asking my mom, like, I need more science fiction books, and there was some great, and the kids section too. There were some great ones where, that's why I love talking to authors. Like there were a few, like some, I can't remember the name of the book. Remember kids like made a spaceship in their backyard and flew to Mars, some crazy book, but it was just, that spark of creativity was just so great. And some fun times, back before everyone was spent most of their time on these little screens that I see a lot of the kids on today. This is my get off the lawn speech, but reading a book is actually makes you think with your mind and you imagine everything, and you like I was asking you to describe the ship, like how would you visualize the ship? And so why don't you give a little bit, without going into spoilers, like a synopsis of the first book, and then we can talk about the sequel a little bit.
Okay. The first book is the story of my character, who has been around forever. His name is Jan Ando. He's got his mother and father are both in the military. In fact, the prologue, you'll actually get to meet them first. I'll read that to you. So
okay.
His family are in the military. They get involved in the Mars Wants Independence. And again, I'll read a little bit of that. And when Jan is around, they actually start a second war. So
a second when Mars starts the war. I mean, I don't want to give. I guess you don't want to do. But you could say that Mars starts the war, and how. And so Mars has been colonized, obviously, and then so how many years have passed between the colonization of Mars and when they start to look for their independence, basically? Roughly, I mean, it's hundreds of years, or it's shorter.
They colonized probably in the late 21st century.
Okay.
And in the early 22nd century, they fight the first Martian Independence War. And then 20 years after that is the war that Jan gets involved in.
Okay, so that's the second war. So Mars at this point is independent, or it's
no,
still
they're still not.
They've lost. They lost. They're still struggling for independence. Yep.
Right. So they'll become independent, and then the whole war starts up. Jan, me, Jan, as a fiance, I won't go much into her because she has there's a twist to that. And
Yep.
there are twists in this story, a lot of twists in the story. And I will say, without spoiling, there will be dolphins involved. But
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do the dolphins get involved? How can you?
that's
That's a spoiler,
that's kind of a spoiler. Now, I will
right?
say this: they visit, they are fascinated with Earth and decide to visit.
Interesting. Yep. So yeah, that's one of the reasons you have to read the book to find out. But Raymond's got a good
Yeah, exactly.
got a good a good teaser there. Yep. And of course, everyone we always
Yes.
crack. The great Douglas Adams with "So Long and Thanks for the Fish." The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the famous trilogy, which is 5 books.
Hmm.
But
I never read that, and I've heard that there are dolphins in that, and I said probably not like mine.
yeah. So yeah, without giving anything away, but yeah,
Yeah, I may have to read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
it's definitely worth reading. Now, the other series that I'm guessing would come to excuse me, people's mind is The Expanse. So, how is your
Mhm.
series, different than The Expanse, or anything similarities, or you
There
know?
are similarities. Earth has again. Earth has colonized the Moon, Mars. They are in the belt and in partially into Jupiter.
Okay,
But at the same time, there's no separate military force. It's all under the umbrella of Earth's Space Defense Force.
okay. And then in terms of science fiction, like in terms of reality, like The Expanse is, say, more grounded sci-fi as a viewer. Where Star Trek, is very science based, but maybe a little bit more advanced. We've got anti-gravity and The Expanse. You can see all the effects of going. They don't have hyperspace in The Expanse either. They have that jump drive, or that
Yeah.
extreme high speed, and how you have to be injected with a solution. And there's a lot
Mhm.
of hard science in The Expanse. So I would have to say The Expanse seems, more like on the quote unquote realistic side versus, the Star Wars
Yeah.
at the other end, where you've got, it's obviously World War II dogfights that they're patterned after, but there's really no
Mhm.
physical effects, and
Right.
planes and or ships can do things. So how would you describe your universe that you've created in terms of science
Um,
fiction and physics and
oh boy, that is a good question. There is a lot of suspension in reality. In reality, in my book, like I said, you do have. I I don't even take them past. Take them past uh, the speed of light. However, I
yeah,
don't make it excruciating.
okay,
Their drive is a matter of them to get from A to B quickly.
okay. Yeah,
So
yeah. So you didn't make it like an instant. Yeah, there's no ramifications, or like when we watched the Saturday Night Star Trek. I think some of the episodes we were talking about or especially like Star Trek Five, where they instantly travel, out of the galaxy or out of the
yeah,
universe, where it's like, well, wait a minute, if it was that close, why didn't someone try to do this before? So,
yeah.
and then certain things, like as a reader, you don't mind as long as the author's consistent. I would have to say too. So if
Mhm.
they don't come up with some fancy way to save the day, or all of a
Right.
sudden there's this plot device. So I guess
Mhm.
as long as you're consistent with your
The,
technology.
the key to me is the characters and the character interaction. Anything
Okay,
else, I will do just enough of an explanation to make it realistic, but not to detract from the characters.
No, that's a good
That
explanation. Yeah.
that's what's important to me is how does Jan get himself? How does Jan survive what he goes through with both his physical body intact and his mind intact?
Well, that's true. Yeah, because it's warfare. There's a lot of psychological.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm not shouldn't say problems or effects. I've never been in combat or been near that, but I've had friends who are veterans, and it still affects them to this day. And I
Mm-hmm.
think some members of our circle are veterans. They've mentioned PTSD, and one of my buddies, I know still is. It's tough, it's tough. It's tough for people, and back in the
Yeah.
day they called it shell shock. So
Mm-hmm.
and they just didn't really treat you, or they said you were a coward, or there was
Exactly.
something wrong with you. So that's
It had,
part of your book too. That the effects of
yeah.
war and
Yes, there is.
yeah. So
Yes, there
you
is.
get nothing's and even like would say oh it's not like Rambo, but even Rambo is actually if you read the first novel of Rambo. Spoilers: a lot of characters die. That Rambo dies at the end of the end of the novel, and famous actors actually, excuse me, going to play the colonel. I think it was who was
Richard Crenna.
uh, Kirk.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, it was originally it was supposed to be who played Spartacus. That was a famous actor, and he dropped out of playing the role once he learned how they were changing the book. But the movie, from the novel, um, he didn't like that Rambo actually survived. Part of the end of the book, and of course Rambo. As gung ho as it is, it also I think was one of the better movies to show the psychological aspects of warfare and
oh, yeah.
how it affects people.
Yeah.
And then you also have characters in the Earth forces, I'm assuming too, that you get into detail with, or how would you describe that?
Uh, some, however, it's the mainly his family. There are some incidental characters, but I have pretty much stayed with the small circle.
Small circle, yep. So we've got a comment from Snorter Pooper says, "I'm keeping my snout zipped about the dolphins. Yeah, don't eat the dolphins, or unless he knows or unless maybe he knows the knows the spoiler. Yep, because he's read the
Yeah,
book, and
see,
maybe
he's read
Snort
the
has read
first
it.
one. He's
Yeah,
read the first.
So Snort knows. Yep. So Snort's
Snort.
He's not going to eat the dolphins. He's just not
Keep on.
talking.
Yep, exactly.
I don't know if dolphins are tasty. We wouldn't want to eat our favorite mammaled friends there from the sea. Yep. Aquaman will be after you.
True. True.
And
So,
Snor's also saying Kirk Douglas. Yeah, that's what. Yep. Thank you, Kirk Douglas. So he was supposed to play Troutman, and he, watching the special commentary, they said he dropped out of the movie because he was upset with the direction. But Richard Crenna was very happy to have
to
that
take it,
happen.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that became probably his most famous role. I'm thinking. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
So you deal with a lot of psychological effects of the war, and then
mhm.
how much how much combat is there in the book? I mean, it's 50-50 versus you've got some big battles
There,
in there, or you've got
there
some
are some big battles, but it goes in a flow. I would say there's probably three engagements that I go into.
yep, three big ones. Yep.
Yeah.
So you've got some big three big set pieces. Yep. And then what? So you've got two books. So what else would you like to say about the first book, and then we can maybe mention a little bit about the second book and the
Um,
direction that took.
it people have really liked All's Fair, the character developments, the plot twists. One person actually said, "Yeah, this is in space, but you can actually take this scenario into just about any reality you want. And I thought that that was very good, very good. It said to me that I did my job. I made it relatable.
Yeah. Yeah, because then I guess that meant that the person thought you could translate it to like a naval scenario or an army scenario or any kind of, well, that's what I find too, is like when the characters are well written, as much as I keep saying, we both love science fiction and that's probably my favorite genre, it could still be set, say, in the 1600s, or look at Master and Commander, basically Star Trek is, based based a lot on those Horatio Hornblower, novels. So when you've got a well-written character and a good story, the location, as much as we love these fantastical locations and the tech and things like that, if Captain Kirk was a boring character, or Spock or McCoy, you wouldn't really, it wouldn't matter, if they were, the greatest, pilots in the universe, or, if there's no conflict or growth or development of the character, it's just a boring story for people.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing I tell people. Tell good stories and they work on your characters and everything else comes together. And if you've got the hook, everything comes together.
Yeah, because not to bring up the new Star Wars trilogy, but I'll bring it up. When you look at the character of Rey, she doesn't really struggle that much. Like in the beginning, in The Force Awakens, I thought the first 10 minutes of that movie were probably really only one of the few good 10 minutes of that whole series. I mean, because she's actually kind of struggling, and she's on the planet, and she's trying to forage for food and scavenging, and that part was interesting. And they get into the fight, and then she's a good fighter, which you kind of expect, but then you don't really, maybe you don't need her whole backstory, but then at the end of the movie, she's able to fight Kylo Ren and basically fight him to a standstill or defeat him with no training. And look at Empire Strikes Back, where Luke loses to Darth Vader and he finds out it's his dad. So you've got that arc where you start high and then you go down and you hit rock bottom. So do you have an arc like that for your main character, or how would you talk about the challenges your characters face in the novel?
Well, I will say this: Jan has a gift. I will, and that's
okay.
about all I'll say for that. I mean, it helps him to be the pilot that he is, and he's a damn good pilot.
Okay.
But he goes through highs, he goes through loss, and he finds out a lot of things about himself that he does not expect.
Which is, and that's where I guess the interest of the reader is caught then by these things, and by having a character that overcomes challenges, and if the character if your main character just wins all the time, it's you want to see that struggle, and then you get the payoff. Like talking about Rambo, talk about Rocky, one of the classic all-time stories. And Stallone, people make fun of Stallone. Oh, he's a dumb, Rio Adrian. The guy's a brilliant guy. He's a smart guy. I mean, he wrote the story of Rocky, and he was smart enough to get himself cast in the lead role. And that's a brilliant movie. And and he doesn't even win at the end, right? Yeah, Rocky doesn't win.
Yeah, it's a butt kick.
And how many people remember that Rocky didn't win in the first movie, right?
Yeah.
So it's great character, and then he even as his character takes that journey, he wins in the second movie, but then Apollo Creed gets killed, and he's got all these challenges that he's got to face, and even the later movies I thought were well done. So that's what as a consumer or reader, or that's what I love to see. That then then in the end you're all pumped up and cheering, and I'm assuming your book has got some great moments like that. So J.T. Kirk and Sandra are joking about a no-win scenario. There are a lot of surprises, though.
Oh, there are.
So how there are, yep. So how did you approach? After you finished the first book and it was well received, and how did you have this in your mind when you started? Did you have all of these plotted out, or did you just how did you approach the second book then?
Well, again, this was while it was still sitting out in my, Allsfair was sitting there waiting patiently, throwing things at me, saying, "Get me published." But but I looked at the ending of All's Fair, and I said, there is more that I can do with this. And then I just started thinking about things, started writing things. Strangely enough, I don't write everything down. My stories come to me in my sleep, or as I'm walking to work. I did a lot of walking to work when I was working in DC.
Interesting, yeah. So you don't just sit down and say, I'm going to create something right now. You kind of, your ideas come to you kind of in the off hours, or just
they come in the off hours. I'm actually acting. I act out my stories. It's funny.
Okay.
If people came by me, they would see me talking to myself, but that's actually I'm putting my stories together, and that's how I took this one. And
great.
What I did was I knew I wanted to continue with Jan, and what I wanted to do is give him a family.
Okay.
He already started a family. Spoiler: he already started a family in the first book, but this,
yep,
I flesh out the family, and at the same time, I bring up a crisis that he has to deal with, and he sends him, and I send him on a quest. So
he's got a big quest he's got to fulfill.
Exactly.
Yep.
And granted, he doesn't do it alone, but yeah, it is a quest.
So who are some of maybe the side characters that are also not main characters, but how you'd have talked about Jan? What are the other? You mentioned his wife. What are the other? Who are the other characters that you would say are?
Well, once Raquel's back, we'll find out about his mother and father.
Yeah.
His mother, Tanya, and his father, Tran. They are. They have an interesting background. Tanya's Israeli, and Tran is a Vietnamese Ukrainian.
Okay.
And so that's his family, and then his fiancee, Lorena. Yeah, I won't go too much into her background.
Yeah, but because that sounds like that's one of the things that shouldn't be revealed until you read the book.
Right. And then his first daughter, I will mention her. His first daughter is Katrina, and she gets a big part in the second book.
Okay. So you've got a family tradition, a warrior family that gets passed on from generation to generation. And then does Jan pass on some of his skills, or you said he has a special talent? Well, I guess you know what, we shouldn't say what happens, but I'm assuming that there's a lot of the family help.
There will be some passing around family, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, so I've got on the screen, I've got Dolphin Wars Peacemaker, and how the first book, as we can see here, was called All's Fair, and the second one is called Peacemaker. So what does Peacemaker mean? It's a series about it's a book series about war, but then your second book is called Dolphin Wars Peacemaker. So how does without giving away too much again, what's the title reference?
Well, I will say that you're looking in that picture, in the yin and yang, you will see two of the antagonists in the big crisis.
Interesting, yep.
And the Peacemaker is the resolution
of the conflict, yep.
Yes.
Nice, yep. And who did the art? Did you do the art? Are you an artist, or this is some?
Oh no, I am not an artist. I don't even claim to be art. That is work of Fet for Hire.
Ah, Fet for Hire, awesome.
Yes.
So one of the. That's great. Yep. And did you just met him through? I'm assuming you met Fet for Hire just through Doomcock or through the.
Through Doomcock, yes.
Yep. That's very talented. Very talented. Yep.
Yes, very talented. The first cover was strictly for All's Fair, came out of Kindle. And when I found out that Fet for Hire was willing to help me out and saw his amazing work, we're working quite well together. And I hope
great.
I hope we can continue to work well together.
Well, I guess you gave him some kind of idea. I'm just wondering, you give him some broad outlines or ideas, and then he takes it and runs and visualizes what you've thought about. Yep. So Sandra is saying, sometimes I do think he's crazy. And then Snortapoopa says, Sandra, think or no? No. Nods head, nods snout. And then Pat S is saying, so we're not going to get in the middle of that one, but you're celebrating your wedding anniversary this weekend, so I guess that's all you need to know.
Exactly.
And Pat S is a great suggestion. Aaron, you should get some patches made. That would look cool. Yep.
Go to Zazzle, and again, Fet for Hire came up with I wanted a squadron patch for the Devil Ray Squadron, and Fet for Hire did an amazing. Noted that, and I actually have a cup for it. I actually have a cup.
So can I find that on? I have to go to Zazzle, or can I get that through your website?
I think I have a link to Zazzle on there, but you can get it.
Or maybe Zazzle. About Us, maybe. Let's see. Let's see where, or if I just go Zazzle.com, I can get into it. Let's see.
Go to the Enclave. I think I put it in the Enclave.
Enclave, let's see. So if I go here in the Enclave, and if I go to the, here's Fet for Hire. Click on that, or
let's see. Let's see. Scroll down. Scroll. Yeah, hit that one. Fet for Hire. He's got a Devil Ray shirt on. I love that one.
Oh yeah, I click on it. I know. Yeah, it looks cool. Yep. So there's Fet for Hire. Yep. My other ship is a Devil Ray.
So, I saw that. I said, yeah. Here, actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the camera.
Your mic actually sounds a lot better right now, whatever you did. Now your mic sounds really good.
Oh, okay. Well, I put on my cam.
Okay, let me share. Let me go. Let me stop sharing this, and let's go. We'll make you full screen. Yep. Oh, I gotta click
that.
There we go.
What's with all that? What?
Oh, maybe that's the. Do you have the background removal on? Let me make you. Let me take this off.
It's just like right around me.
That's weird. But you don't have any of those fancy dancy background remover. Yeah, because we see your dog in the background. Yep.
Yeah,
It's like
him.
Maybe that's through StreamYard.
Could
I
be
don't know.
yeah. But this is the Squadron Cup.
Maybe if I don't make you full screen, maybe let's go back. That's cool. Yep. So people can order that on. I'll try to pull it up through ZZLE. ZZLE.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if I search for Dolphin Wars, maybe I'll find it through Dolphin Wars. Let's see.
Yeah, the Dolphin Wars.
Dolphin Wars. Yep.
And then on the back is, of course, a Devil Ray.
Nice. Yep. So do you use that cup every day? I hope for your coffee.
No, that's a display. I'm actually going to take this with me to the signing.
Yep. Oh, here we go. And there's shirts and everything. So this is all Fet for Hire's work, I'm assuming.
It's all Fet for Hire's work, yes.
I'm going to put merch here, and I'm going to put that in the show notes too.
Okay. Yeah, and he's actually he's done a lot of stuff that's on the website. He's actually done the cover for my third project. So,
great.
Yeah, he's really good. Anybody talk to him if you want something done.
Yep, and it's great to. There we go. So here's.
Yeah.
Here, I guess if I click on it, does it show me the whole cup? Let's see. Nice. Yep. So you've got. It's just amazing now with technology and the computers that years ago you could never do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So and then this is that was the mug you were just showing. Yep.
Yep. That's the.
I like that one. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
yep. And it's and the kind of from your Air Force days, that's kind of you kind of pictured a logo that what do some of these things mean in the I guess that's the Stingray.
That's the spaceship.
The spaceship here, yep.
And that's what's on top of it is a real Devil Ray.
Okay. And then VAQ stands for that's anything specific.
That stands for electronic combat wing.
Okay.
Heavier fixed wing. So it would be like the Navy. If you had a helicopter, it would start with an H. If it was an airplane, it would be a V.
Interesting. Yep. Yeah. No. So So you with your background, you're taking that and translating that to this novel. Yep. Which is great. Yep. And I can get 20% off right now. So here we go. And it's only $15. So that's not bad for customize. And then there's also a shirt here. Yep.
Yeah.
So you got your Devil Ray Dolphin Wars shirt.
Yep.
Let loose the Dolphins of War. Yep.
Let loose the Dolphins of War.
Yep. Oh, and they even have up to 4X. So no discrimination on anyone who's dimensionally challenged there.
Yep.
And then this is the other shirt. Yep.
Yep. So we each have one of those.
Nice.
And I have one each of the cups.
Great.
So
you're bringing that to the signing, and that good quality too. I'm assuming, right? Yep.
Yeah. And then there's another one with strictly with the Devil Ray banner.
Well, that's cool too. I like that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yep. Well, it must be as an author, you must be really proud to actually see this kind of stuff. I would imagine, without bragging, but that must make you feel really, really good. I'm assuming to see.
Yeah, it feels real good to put a book out for it,
and have that go. Be able to see that something that you created and come to fruition. So that's great. Great to see.
It's And it's even better when people buy it and enjoy it.
Right. Yep. That's what you want. Yep.
Yep.
So Peacemaker. Now you're going to continue the story. You've got an idea for the next
It's
book.
actually, yeah, the book is titled Blood Feud, and it is a direct continuation of the trilogy. I say trilogy, but it's already started to start. I've already started work on a fourth.
Well, you can just be like Douglas. You can just be. There's 5 books in the trilogy.
Yeah. But I'm not gonna not finish a storyline like George R. Martin.
Okay, then you can stay my friend then.
Yeah, there will be conclusion.
Good. I
There
mean,
will be a conclusion.
I know it's really tough for authors, and sometimes they get writer's block, and it's really tough. So I don't want to, say anything bad about an author who can't, finish something. But it seems, from I don't follow it that closely, but it seems like he's got a ton of other things going on, and life happens, you get bogged down. But I guess for fans, they love his work so much, and really, they're just craving more of his work, so that they love him so much. And unfortunately, too, I think with that eighth season of HBO jumping the shark and finishing the series so poorly, it's tarnished the books. I was going to start reading them, and now I don't even know if I want to bother to read them unless I find out that the stories end. So. And I hope that he does for all those fans of the books, and hopefully gives us a better ending, or maybe they'll do a like everyone hopes for the new Star Wars series. They come up with a new ending, or those last few episodes didn't really exist, so or didn't happen. So it was just So
well, like when I started my writing process, I kind of went little bitty short stories with in a flow of short stories that never seemed to finish. So later on, I changed my writing style, deciding you are going to finish something and it's going to flow right.
Right.
It's like Doomcock. It's like Doomcock says, if you're going to be a good writer, you got to hate your work. That makes, and I say, that makes you go back and write better. Go back and do it over and over again. Took this 40 years, pal.
Wow. So how many times did you rewrite the first book?
More times than I'd like to think of.
And with major changes, or you're not talking about missing commas, or taking out one part. You're talking about major plot changes and character shifts. And do you have all those old iterations, or do you just throw them away and delete them?
Gone.
They're gone. They're gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
No good. And did you ever regret making a change and saying, "Oh, I should have"? Maybe that wasn't so. I should have left that, and you go back to an old idea, or you kind of just move forward and say that's.
I moved forward. Yeah. Especially once I had my hook.
Then you knew it then it just all clicked and fell into place, basically.
Yep, and it just didn't look back.
Great. So now you've got the idea for maybe 2 more books. You think you can go to a 5th, or how? As Sandra's saying, Raymond finishes what he starts. So
I think maybe if I can flesh out a 4th, then that will probably be it.
That would be the last book in the trilogy. Wise guy Mark's smack. Sorry. No, but that's great. Yeah, you don't want to also drag a story on too long too. That
exactly.
That doesn't just to make a story, like we're sticking to the fantasy science fiction genre. So The Hobbit, which I loved reading as a kid, read that tons of times, and I have like a picture book of The Hobbit with the animated art from the movie, and which was fantastic. And movies that came out. They made three, like, they're very well done, but just, it was, in my opinion, it was way too long, and they stretched the story too far. I don't know what you thought of that, but
Yeah, I like The Hobbit. I
oh,
thought
your mic just went way down, Raymond, just all of a sudden. Yep.
let's see. How's this better?
A little better. Yep. Actually, I think maybe we're using your webcam before. Maybe it switched to the webcam mic, or how did that?
Let me do that then. How's that? Is
Yeah.
that
Oh,
better?
that's much better. Yep, 100 times better. Yep. Is that the webcam mic or the?
Yeah, that's the webcam mic.
Yeah, I would stick to that mic. Yeah, that's much louder for people to hear. Yep.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I read The Hobbit and liked The Hobbit and started reading Lord of the Rings, and I could not finish it. It
Oh, you never finished Lord of the Rings? Oh, so you don't know how it
never
ends.
no, I never finished any of them.
Frodo dies. Spoiler. Sorry. No. But as a kid, those were, as I got older, The Hobbit was an easy read. And then I read The Lord of the Rings 4 or 5 times. I can't remember, one of your, and then I think once you've read it a few times, and it's like, you go through it. So like Mrs. D every summer reads the whole Harry Potter series over again. She loves Harry Potter. So I'm like, you reading those books again? I'm like, has Harry Potter got all your attention? What about me? I'm getting jealous of Harry Potter. And she just, like, the first book, she said, she can read, within a couple of days, I guess, or it's so short, and then the other ones take longer. But once you've read them, a few times, it kind of just flows through. But I'm surprised you didn't finish reading Lord of the Rings, but that's okay. We still like you.
Well, I then started doing then I started going into the Tom Clancy type books and
Okay.
W.E.B. Griffin, and kind of moved away from the science.
You went more to like, Tom, spy, adventure, action,
military thriller.
Yeah. Yep. J.T. Kirk, there are 4 books. Yep. Snort says, Sauron and Saruman make up, get married, and live happily ever after.
Darn, Snort. You ruined it for me.
Yeah. Right?
You ruined it for me, Bad Bear.
No humans for you for tonight. Yep. No snacks. Yeah.
No salmon for you, pal.
Yeah. So how about I guess we were waiting for Cal to get back, but
Yeah,
I don't think she's here. But we talked about doing reading an excerpt from your book.
sure.
So if you'd like to do that, and then I'm sure Raquel can catch it on the rewind, and we've still got a crowd here that's enjoying listening to you. So which is great.
Alrighty.
So if you want to do an excerpt, and then we can.
Oh, certainly.
That'd be awesome.
I will do the prologue. Okay. It was a good time for the people on Earth. After dealing with the horrors of a Third World War, overpopulation, resource depletion, humans developed technology to take them to space. They formed the first colonies in 2050 on the Moon and Mars. However, the problems that caused conflict on Earth simply migrated to the colonies. In order to keep peace in the colonies, the United Earth government organized the Space Defense Force. Despite this, tensions between Earth and the Martian colonies continued until they flared and became the brief but violent conflict of Martian independence in the early part of the 22nd century. It was July 8th, 2136, and while in the officers' crew quarters of the escort carrier Gregory Pappy Boyington, the alarm buzzed loudly until a man's hand knocked it on the floor. After it crashed on the floor, a soft female voice with a Mediterranean accent said, "Real mature, Lieutenant Ando." Lieutenant Tran Ando rose from his bed and said, "Sorry, Lieutenant Levy, but you know I hate alarms." He rose from his rack and said, "It's times like this, and I really miss fishing with Grandpa in the South China Sea." He looked down at the young woman just rising from his bed. She looked fit and athletic. Her tanned skin only had one mark, a small birthmark in the shape of a dolphin on her back between her shoulder blades. Always thought it looked sexy. So, Tanya, who did you buy off to not fly this mission? Ah, you know darn well why. Captain Dickhead just had to have the best pilot in his wing on the road to glory. Tanya turned and rose from the bed and walked around in her nightshirt. She walked over and kissed Tran on his back. I wish I could fly with you, but he stuffed me away at Pryfly and the CIC today. Pryfly was responsible for controlling the carrier's flight operations, and the Combat Information Center handled strike operations. I knew he would succeed in breaking us up, knowing we're the best team in the wing. I really have a bad feeling about this op. Yes, and you told me this 10 times before. I also have a feeling of impending doom, but we do our duty, Lieutenant Ando. I really have to go now. I got to get the ready room set up now before I go to Pryfly. She got up and kissed him and jumped into her sweats. Hey, wait, I want to say something, but she already left his cabin. Lieutenant Tran Ando and Lieutenant Junior Grade Tanya Levy were both flyers in the 103rd Fighter Squadron assigned to Carrier Strike Wing 116 on board the space carrier Pappy Boyington, the flagship of Carrier Battle Group 1. It consisted of the Boyington, the Carrier Strike Wing, and 3 destroyer escorts. The battle group was in orbit around Mars as part of its support role for the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force. It was the UEG's Defense Command's desire to end the war as soon as possible before public opinion on Earth went against this conflict. Sound familiar, people?
Yep.
Operation Bright Wind was planned to defeat the Martian insurgents. The force consisted of the carrier battle group, the assault ship Iwo Jima, and 5 support cruisers. The best pilot was indeed Tran Nguyen Ando. Born in Hanoi in 2110 to Nguyen Ando, one of the richest men on the planet, and his late wife, Irena Katerina. His wife was the owner of East Wind Shipping Company and a descendant of Vietnam's greatest general, Vo Nguyen Giap. And if I'm massacring the Vietnamese names, I'm sorry. East Wind Shipping was a diverse company consisting of a fleet of fishing trawlers, cruise ships, tankers, and heavy lift vehicles. East Wind vessels could be seen everywhere around the oceans of the world. They had ports in every city worldwide, with headquarters in Haiphong, Vietnam. The Ando family had a sprawling estate located in Da Nang on Hon La Island, a few miles off the mainland, that kept them secluded from outsiders. Tran's mother was a beautiful Jewish Ukrainian woman from Odessa. He inherited his mother's striking blonde hair and his father's Vietnamese eyes and features. He was 6 feet tall, had a fit swimmer's physique, and muscles honed by life at the sea. His memories were of her doting him and inspiring him to be the best that he could be. When he was a teenager, she was mauled by sharks while boating with his father. His father was maimed trying to save her, and her death haunted him all his life. Tran was raised with a love of the sea and exploration and kept it up despite his mother's tragic death. He was an accomplished scuba and deep-sea diver. However, his desires were elsewhere. Wherever he sailed in his father's ships and looked up into the stars at night, he knew he wanted to be up there, exploring their beauty and majesty. Tran originally wanted to follow in his father's footsteps, so he worked diligently to learn that craft. He started at the age of 12 on the decks of the fishing trawlers, hauling fish on board, then progressed as a deckhand on the cruise ships and worked the engineering spaces with the Black Gang. At the age of 17, just before he went into the Space Defense Force Naval Academy, he earned his shipmaster, any ocean, any tonnage rating. He finally entered the academy in 2127. At first, he wanted to be a ship driver to follow in his father's steps, but life had a way of changing things. After he did a cadet tour of a Space Defense Force fighter base and had a flight in one of the older space fighters, he wanted to be an aviator and transferred to the Flight Academy. He graduated 10th out of 1,500 in the class of 2131 and went on to flight school. During undergraduate pilot training, he impressed his instructors with his natural flying ability and graduated first in his class. He spent the next 3 years learning all he could about fighter combat and found that one can never know too much about it. He became an instructor and flight lead in his squadron, and then he went to fighter weapons school to become an expert in aerial combat and tactics. It was when he graduated from fighter weapons school and returned to his squadron to be the weapons and tactics officer that the first shots of the so-called Martian War of Independence were fired. A group of miners on Mars rebelled against the government as they claimed that the UEG was exploiting him and their planet's resources. It soon escalated into a full-fledged armed conflict in which they used a combination of stolen equipment and old material to fight their war successfully. Ando's wing was put on an escort carrier and sent into combat around Mars in 2136. After he flew some combat missions, he knew that his life and training had brought him to this point. He became familiar with the pain of loss when after hard combat missions, he would return to empty seats in the squadron ready room. This only steeled his resolve. He also let someone into his personal life. That someone was Lieutenant Junior Grade Tanya Levy, who was a replacement in his flight. Tanya Ariana Levy was born in a kibbutz just outside of Tel Aviv, Israel. Her father was the head of shipping in Israel and a good friend of Jan Ando, who had a shipping operation at Haifa. She was intelligent, athletic, and with her striking looks, she never had a shortage of suitors. She was 2 years older than Tran, and the first time that the two of them met was memorable for both of them. They met at a reception for Tran's parents at Jerusalem when she was 16, and as he remembered that time, it went badly for him. Tran entered the ballroom and looked at the young woman, saying haughtily, "So, Levy, we still on?"
Oh, we're still on. Yep, we're going. Yep, we're good. Yep.
Everybody?
No, this is good.
Okay.
So that's no. So you've got a couple more pages left, or what's? I'm reading along as we go.
I'll go probably till the end. I'm not going to go all the way to the.
Okay, do whatever you'd like, whatever you'd like, and then we'll wrap it up and tell people how to buy the book. Yep.
Okay, so Levy, it's been a long time. Ando, you are still a little boy. I remember your bar mitzvah. What do you mean, little boy? I'm smarter, richer, and better than you. I saw your bat mitzvah, and I did so much better than you. Yeah, you have to one up on me, but you'll never be better. Ha! I know I'm better. He looked smugly, and during the party, he continued to behave like he was God's gift to everyone. Tanya had enough of this arrogance and punched him in front of everyone. Everyone who saw this was mortified that she would be so bold as to humiliate the son of a rich and favored personage such as Jan Ando. Nguyen, however, laughed and said, "You know, my son, you did deserve that. Always remember this and be careful of women."
Good tip.
Yep. His
Sorry.
his father said, her father said, "Nguyen, my friend, this could be the start of a beautiful relationship." As he was gently chastised by both of them, he seethed and swore he would get back with her. They haven't seen each other since. Tanya worked with her father on various tasks, pursued a degree in chemical engineering at MIT. She had no desire to enter the Space Force at first, and when she was in 25, she decided to get her commission and enter flight school. She graduated from her qualification training when she received her orders to join the Pappy Boyington Carrier Battle Group to fight in the war. When she arrived there, she was shocked when she entered the ready room and saw the bane of her youth, Jan Ando. He looked at her in amusement and said, well, Lieutenant, I knew I would eventually get a chance to get payback." "What do you mean, Lieutenant? You deserved everything I gave you. I see the bruise healed nicely. I should have hit you harder." "I probably deserved it, Lieutenant Levy, but now after all these years of torment, I get to pay you back because you are my wingman." He snapped a picture of her shocked and discouraged look before she could react. That picture ended up in his berth for him to look at times to cheer him up. For the rest, you have to read the book.
All right. That was a great intro and some really good stuff there. I like that conflict between the characters, and then you'll find out more as you read. So I've got the book on my Kindle right now, or my iPad. Good. So yep. So I was reading along as we went.
Cool. I wish Raquel was there.
Yeah, I actually think Clobbering's Times just started his stream, so I think we had so much fun. I think I thought we would go an hour, and then we went a little bit almost an hour. Yeah, so which is always good. So we had plenty to talk about.
When you're having fun.
Yeah, but so just to wrap up. How can people? I think people have seen. We've posted it, but they can either go to Amazon.com to search Dolphin Wars, or they can even better. They can go to your website and they can email you if they want to get an autographed hardcover copy of the book. So I guess then they can pay you through PayPal and credit card, which is great. So if they want to, they can. Let me share my screen here so we can put this back up on the screen. So if they want to, they can email you at rnfeliciano@thedolphinwars.com, and they can make an say, I just write I'd like to order a hard copy, signed copy of the book, which is great. Do you have? Can we tell people the price, or is that just so people?
It's $10, and that includes tax, and then the shipping and handling, which I figure out when I read
for each person. Yep. So roughly, depending on where you live, so the book will be very. That's not expensive at all. So I recommend everyone. It's great to support an author and get a hard copy. So $10 plus, at most maybe 10. I'm guessing add another $10 for shipping and handling, or less maybe.
We've done media rate, which is about $5 based on where you are in the.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So very, very. Yeah, you're not paying $20 for shipping, basically. So that's I use when I do stamps.com sometimes for my business. So you can just put the address in and just charge. So basically, you're not trying to make money on the shipping. You're just going to charge people what it costs to get the book to you. So which is nice. Yep.
Oh, and yes, Sandra, if you figure it out.
Yeah.
She's got the software.
Yeah. So the book is $10. The shipping will be $100. No, just kidding. Yeah. Well, unfortunately for Raquel, if she'd like a copy, I know it'll be
I
much more.
actually, I think she had to go the Kindle route.
She had to go to Kindle route. Yep. So yeah, our Canadian friends, it's tough to send stuff their way. Unfortunately, it's not easy. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think this has been great. I really
This has been
appreciate you
fantastic.
coming on. So it was great talking to you. Anything else you would like to say or promote or?
No, just go to dolphinwars.com. You'll get all the information, and please get the book. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I did writing it, and other people have enjoyed reading it.
Great. I think that's a really good way to end it. And this has been a lot of fun. And tomorrow we'll be on Global Geek Gang. I believe is it tomorrow, Gene Roddenberry's 100th birthday that we'll be celebrating. So I guess that show is on Clobbering Time's channel. I believe is it 1 p.m. Central or 2 p.m. Central? I can't remember.
I think
what
it's
time
1
is.
p.m. It's 1 p.m. Central. I'm probably going to be late because I work and have a doctor's appointment afterwards, but I hope to catch some of it.
Yep, I might be a little bit late, but I'll try to be on that too. So if you want to hear more of us, tune into Clobbering Times tomorrow. But thank you, Raymond, for being here. And
thank you. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
It was a lot of fun. And everyone get out there and buy this book. And can we guarantee enjoyment?
Yes, I can guarantee enjoyment.
I can guarantee enjoyment. So
not a money back guarantee, but you can guarantee it. I can guarantee.
Not a money back. Yeah, but you'll have fun with the book. So
yes.
So we'll let loose the Dolphins of War. And thanks, Raymond, for being here. It's been great having you, and we'll play the outro here. Thank you.